Yeah, we got so many people calling us to sell right now. Like the amount of inventory that's going to be hitting the market is incredible.
Insufficient.
I'm just saying there's hope for buyers out there. There
Is
is a
there hope?
ton. There's a ton of inventory coming. I'm still looking at the sales, like even the ones that happened like this week, Thursday, Friday, whatever. Um, oh, I got to share some broker base stats with you today too. Remind me. But definitely like the amount of sellers we're dealing with right now is pretty crazy. The amount of people who are thinking, like all the people we were talking to last year who were saying, when's a good time? They're hearing it. Everyone's
Now they're
nervous about
feeling
the
it.
market this
Yeah.
year. Yeah, they're like, oh, man, maybe I should get it on the market sooner than I thought.
So everybody is nervous right now. Like everybody. So who the hell is still
Who's
buying?
cool and calm? You know
No,
what? Who
but
the cool
who's
and
still
calm people are?
buying? Who's cool and calm? Are they the
The
buyers, the cool and calm, or they're not buyers?
no, the people who you know are not even aware that they own real estate. They're in the nursing home. They're like, do I still own my house? I'm not really sure, but I
Where
feel
am
pretty
I?
good about the market right now.
Hmm.
Those people are cool and calm. They're not worried. But everybody else is thinking my
Well,
retirement plan, my kids, my grandkids, everyone else is thinking about the market in one way or another.
yeah, I think parents for sure, and yeah, first time homeowners like they're not.
Everybody,
Are they trying still? Like
everybody. They are trying, but they're
what?
like, it's like, did you remember Forrest Gump when he started running? Right?
Okay,
And he
yeah,
just slowly started to build like a crowd behind him. Like more and more people just kept joining him. That's
okay.
what buyers do with people on title. So as they go, they just start bringing people on title with them. They're like, "Come on, we're on this journey. Sign away on the mortgage for me. I need your help on title." Right. So next thing you know, when they
Yeah,
show up to the one that they win, they got like 37 people in their family and their neighbors who are on title with them to be able to afford it.
to be able to afford it. Yeah,
Yeah.
because every bid that you lose
Yeah.
is another phone call to somebody.
It's
Hey,
calling a favor.
yeah, am I good for like 25 grand?
Yeah.
You only have to borrow it for like 3 weeks before you can refinance it out
Refinance it
as a
out. Yeah.
line of credit, right? And pay them
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's so
This
funny.
is crazy.
Yeah.
Like I know you're not on Twitter, or if you are, you're under some pseudonym to mess with me.
Mm.
But like people are posting some nutty prices over an 18-month period for actual sold properties. So,
Mm.
something was purchased in 2020 for 500,000 and was sold in 2022 for 1.8 million dollars or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, some of them are
I know. I've seen them. Yeah.
pretty crazy. Like
I know.
I don't know. I mean, I was thinking this morning, like when do people get smart and stop buying the product that's obviously so overpriced? But then if you look a little south to New York City, or you go east to Tokyo or to
Mm.
London, or Hong Kong, like people are paying way crazier amounts of money for way smaller spaces than they are here.
Yeah.
This
My
looks
thoughts
cheap.
are my thoughts are the same in any market at any time, wherever you are, is just to do your due diligence, go out and look at as many properties as possible, have all the information at your fingertips and know what the sales are so that you don't grossly overpay. You may feel like you're paying higher than the last one sold for. Yeah, that's the market. But it's when people go into neighborhoods they're not familiar with. It's when they go and they make these outrageous bids on properties because they didn't know the area well, or they didn't understand the market, or they overshot the mark. That's where those postings become on Twitter. You do not want to be the guy who bought the house that everyone's talking about on Twitter, right? Because everyone's going to be calling you an idiot, saying like the guy just paid 500,000, you paid 1.8. Where did you justify that price from, right? You don't want to be that. It literally could ruin the experience of buying a home for the next 20 years. It'll be the story you always tell, how I got caught up in emotion buying this property, and I've been paying it off ever since, right? So even in a
My
down market, I would say
realtor
my
made me
realtor, yeah.
pay.
Let me refer you to my realtor, yeah. Let
Yeah.
me get his business card.
Yeah. No, but
So
seriously, like, as a realtor, how do you how do you balance wanting to, make money and sell your clients something that they obviously want and need, and trying to stay responsible for their financial well-being?
you got to really coach people. There's a very huge there's huge value in coaching people away from certain properties, right? So if my gut is like this property is just no way, shape, or form affordable for this buyer, I know that the emotional toll it's going to take on them, because when they go and see it on Tuesday and the offers are on the next Monday, they start doing their brain goes into obsessed mode. They ignore all the other listings that are available. They think, oh, nothing compares to this one. Then they start processing where they're going to put their stuff, how they're going to finance it, which uncle they're going to call to borrow that extra $25,000 from where their kids are going to go to school. They start doing all this emotional calculations, and then when they don't get it on Monday, that emotional toll makes them want to give up. It makes them want to say, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. Oh, this is not going to work. Or it makes them get desperate, and then they end up overpaying for a property later on. So that to me is the biggest tip I can give anybody when that I try to use. It doesn't always work. So sometimes you can't talk people out of it, but try to talk people out of the properties that they can't afford, that they can't afford. Don't just tell them we should just make an offer just to see what happens. Maybe we'll get it. Like, we know you're not going to get it. So like, let's move on. Don't add to the fire, right? Don't be that offer that's 100 grand over asking. And I was at last week, 180,000 over asking, but they hadn't made an offer in months. And they said, we got to try. We got to try. I said, it's too big. It's this. This is what it's going to sell for. It's over your budget. Wow, we got to try. We got to try. Okay. We went 180 over asking. It sold for 610,000 over asking.
Over asking should be outlawed.
No,
asking should be outlawed.
This sale price sold for $275,000 more than the most recent comp.
More than the most recent comp. Now, that should be a statistic.
Yeah.
That is something that I can accept as real. Like, sold over asking means absolutely nothing. It's really pissing me off. I actually put something out into the Twitterverse the other day and got zero response. Well, maybe a little response, but like,
what was it?
I think realtors should be bonused based on the proximity to the asking price that you receive as the sale price.
So pinpointing the sale price right from the get-go.
Well, actually doing your job and being accurate. I mean, there's not much of a job these days, and there is quite a payday. So something should be done.
Who's paying the bonus, though? Sorry. The buyer.
In the bonus.
That's
the buyer
a good
pays
question.
The bonus.
The buyer should
think it through, as most things I
do.
But
let's do this, Darryl. I love your ideas. You're the man of many ideas. So the buyer, because they don't have to go and spend all this money over asking, they don't have to compete with as many buyers because the price was also very close to what it should be before. They don't have to worry about appraisals, shortfalls, all that kind of stuff, because it wasn't this huge gross over list price sale price. The buyers pay the bonus,
and
that's part of the contract.
Like,
and
that.
it's $2,000.
No, it should actually be. Listen, I don't think too many people mind if a realtor makes a lot of money if they do a good job and they get them the house and everything is beautiful. But what a lot of people are doing is just putting it up on the MLS, and then there's really not much else other than like, I think you should take this one, or this is why I think you should take this one. Or, I mean, I know that there's a little bit more than that, obviously, but for the increase in pay, though, that's happened even just in the last 2 years. I mean, the amount of effort, the amount of work has not increased to match the amount of income that has been received because of price increases and nothing else.
I think the work has changed. I think the work has changed. I think it's gone down.
Ooh.
Think about it. If you don't have to sell a listing for 3 months, right? Think about the amount of work you had to do there. They're doing their open houses, they're doing their flyers, they're doing online marketing, right? Well, if you get it sold
Sure.
in a week, it's much less work.
A week. It's like I see people posting things on Twitter or Instagram, and like there's a bully offer 3 minutes later. There has to be somebody's
Yeah.
coming with a bully offer like instantly, right? Hello, Mario. Welcome to the show. Good
Thanks
morning.
for having me on, guys.
How are you?
Welcome, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing great. Yeah, just enjoying a nice sunny Sunday morning here in Toronto.
We
Yes,
love
it
it.
looks extremely sunny in the background.
Perfect.
It's oh yeah, I got my custom
You got your
Ledn
custom background there
It's,
going. This is
Perfect day for a
it-
podcast.
Mario, everybody from Ledn. Mario, you want to introduce yourself to everybody and tell us a little bit about what you do?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my name is Mario Gibney, and I work at Ledn.io. We are a cryptocurrency financial services provider based here in Toronto. So we offer basic financial services on Bitcoin and USDC. And so we've been mainly working with like savings accounts and loans, but we have started to break into real estate. A couple months ago, we announced the world's first Bitcoin mortgage, and which is starting right here in Toronto. And I'm excited to talk to you guys about it.
Awesome.
Bitcoin mortgage.
Bitcoin
Now,
mortgages. Just in
Explain
case,
that. Yeah.
yeah, in case there wasn't enough liquidity in the market.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's
Right.
leverage our Bitcoin. Okay.
That's what we need. Well, it's I mean, it's probably a bit easier to tell you guys where this product came from if you understand where our loans are originally how our original loan product works. So, like the original idea for our company came because one of our co-founders, he's from Venezuela and was doing Bitcoin mining at the time and wanted to get a loan to finance some business activities, and he wasn't able to access some credit, but he had Bitcoin. When he was frustrated, he couldn't use it as collateral, and so they ended up founding a company to allow people to collateralize their Bitcoin and get a loan based on that. So that's most of our business has been based on just simple Bitcoin-backed loans. So people who for whatever reason are locked out of the legacy financial system, or perhaps they live in countries where kind of rates are very very poor, or they just don't have banking services. They can come to us, and we did find that one of the some of our clients were people who had bought a substantial amount of Bitcoin, some years back, and were interested in using it to access real estate, but they didn't want to sell their Bitcoin. Perhaps they didn't want to create a taxable event. Perhaps they kind of expected the price to rise some more. And yeah, so it's we're excited to launch this because this will be helpful for people who might be locked out of the the regular mortgage system. Perhaps they own a bunch of Bitcoin, have retired already. Perhaps they've issues with their credit score. We also offer loans if people have a chunk of Bitcoin, that we can offer them a regular loan just to get enough for a down payment. Right, so that's kind of where the product originally came from, and then. We also expect that people may be able to use this in the opposite direction if they already own property and are interested in financing it to acquire some Bitcoin. We can do the opposite direction. The basic idea of where the product comes from is that it's kind of in between a regular mortgage and our Bitcoin-backed loans. So you have 50% of the collateral in Bitcoin and 50% in the real estate. So that's those are the cliff notes.
Holy cow. So this is a good way to keep a market on fire for a little bit longer, isn't it?
It's
amazing. Amazing. This is amazing. And I think I want to come back to what you actually do with this, but there is so much going on in Toronto real estate and the real estate market and just Toronto and Canada in general. I think this will all tie into it, because I think what you're doing is probably a pretty important answer to a lot of the stuff that we're all dealing with as a society right now. But where do you think the market's going right now? Short term, medium term?
Ooh, with real estate, the real estate or Bitcoin? I usually get this question about Bitcoin actually on the podcast, but are you asking about the real estate market? Because I
That's the
don't
Toronto
do
real estate show. You guys have to have a bullish view of the market to get into lending on real estate, right?
I think the only way an idea like this is possible is in a super frothy real estate market, right?
I don't see why that's necessarily the case. I think that there are simply people out there who are interested in, home ownership, and Bitcoin. In the Bitcoin world, we have been a lot of people are interested in using Bitcoin because they're dissatisfied with the legacy financial system. And so this isn't necessarily for people who just, want to go along on real estate. There are simply people out there who have a desire to own real estate, aren't satisfied with the legacy financial system, and have been interested in alternatives such as Bitcoin. And this is another service we're providing. So no, like I'm not gonna like I don't believe this is definitely not the position of our company. It's not my personal opinion that this product is only viable in a super frothy market. Like we are advocating for a system where we can offer more kind of loans to people who simply want to be homeowners, but for whatever reason can't get the services they need from regular banks. So yeah, sorry, I don't mean to avoid your question.
But what do you really think?
Yeah?
What do you really say?
We won't tell anybody.
Yeah, that is what I really think. I mean, this is why do I come across as disingenuous? I mean,
no, we bug all our guests.
I'm not trying to. Yeah, I know.
We know you don't have the answers. We don't either.
To be clear, I'm like, this is a bit new for me. This is my first time on, like, usually I go on like Bitcoin podcasts and other things, because that's the world I'm from, and I'm actually quite new to the real estate world in terms of I've learned a tremendous amount in the last few months. But yeah, awesome. I tend to be very cautious about short-term price predictions. That's something that the whole cryptocurrency world has taught me as well. So that's why I'm very hesitant when people ask me questions like that. I'm quite confident in in the long term, people are going to continue needing to live in homes. Like, that's not going to go anywhere. And I think Bitcoin is is a long way to grow. But in the short term, it's always hard to make predictions, right?
So is this kind of a bridge gap between, I don't think there's a way to actually buy property directly with Bitcoin currently, is there? Is this a bridge gap for that?
Okay. Well, there are some people who sell homes directly for Bitcoin, but it is rare. If you happen to find someone,
it has to be direct seller and buyer.
Yeah, wallet to wallet,
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And that happens sometimes, but if you're looking for a home and you have Bitcoin, the chances that you find a home that matches what you're looking for and someone happens to be selling you for Bitcoin right now, it's pretty slim. And if you can do that, then you don't need our product. But the challenge with that is also some people who have a big stack of Bitcoin and they expect it to go up more, or they don't want to generate taxable event yet. If you purchase a home with Bitcoin, that will trigger a capital gains event in a lot of jurisdictions.
Yeah.
So this is a bit different in that we are essentially offering a loan denominated in dollars with which you can purchase real estate, and then the real estate becomes part of the collateral for the loan.
Yeah, they do it with stocks, right? You can do it with stocks. Lots of people do that. Lots of guys who are, CEOs and stuff like that are borrowing money based on, the value of their stock. So I think the framework is already there for you to follow, right? It's just about the lenders who are willing to, who have the confidence in the crypto world. And I imagine it's only Bitcoin, correct?
At present, we only offer it for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And so how does this work? So if you do this and Bitcoin goes down like it did, in the last few months, if it crashes from 69,000 down to 30,000, what effect does it have on this loan?
The guy would have to default on his loan for you to have to then go and take his Bitcoin that you're holding in collateral, right? So there's a lot of things that would have to happen, I guess, before that would even be an issue, right?
What's the rate fixed to?
Right. So at the moment, so there's kind of two different questions there. What kind of rates can we offer, and how does the Bitcoin price volatility affect the loan? So if the Bitcoin price crashes substantially, we may require the client to put up more collateral. If the Bitcoin price crashes, since this is the initial roll of the product and we're just doing our first ones in Toronto now, these numbers are subject to change, but it's looking like you would need about a 50% price drop, at which point we would reach out to the client and say, you need to stop your collateral and add more Bitcoin to ensure that the loan stays, the loan to value ratio stays healthy. And if they're unable to do that, then we will be forced to close the loan. Now, compared to our pure Bitcoin backed loans that are a lot stricter, and that if it hits an 80% loan to value ratio, we have to close the loan right away, and we give warnings as it approaches that point. Because real estate is a much more stable collateral than Bitcoin is, we're able to offer a grace period, and that if it hits this this threshold, we'll reach out to clients, and you have a couple of weeks in order to provide extra Bitcoin. So, this is something we warn our clients about. Don't take out a Bitcoin mortgage on all of your Bitcoin. take out with a fraction of what you have, to cover costs you need. So that
just a quick question for you. Sorry, just loan to value stuff. Sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
You're monitoring obviously the crypto markets when you're saying 50% market crash. So that's like obvious because you guys are in that space. But what about if the real estate market decreases and that changes the loan to value? Is that built in as well?
Yeah. So what happens is right now, like for the initial roll of this product, it's for a 2-year term. And so at the end of the 2 years, we'll reassess the value of the real estate.
My question
and
is, how do you evaluate the real estate? So every 2-year term, you can do it again.
2 years. Yeah. Wow. There's some crazy swings that can happen in those 2 years.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, though, it's kind of like you're right in that, like, relative to most of the financial world, real estate swings can be pretty intense. But we are used to lending in the Bitcoin world, which is one of the places where there's actually much, much higher volatility. So we are quite experienced with structuring lending products, dealing with much, much higher volatility than real estate tends to have.
Well, Darryl and I are Bitcoin experts.
There you go. Well, you guys know
if experts means losing money in Bitcoin, we are.
You guys know Mike in Space, don't you? But, he's helped you guys make some NFTs and stuff, right?
Mike minted an NFT for me and suggested we have you on the show.
That's right. He was telling me as well. He was raving about you guys. He was like, you need to get on the Toronto Real Estate Show and talk about Bitcoin mortgage. And I gave a couple of your videos a look, and I was like, all right, I like these guys' vibes. Hope they have me on. Yeah.
I love the idea here. I'm trying to wrap my head around it. So in my head, as the real estate market here in Toronto tumbles, likely Bitcoin is dropping too, or maybe not. I don't know what the hell, but I could see a scenario where everything is dropping and this can get interesting for sure.
That is certainly a risk, which is again why we say, like, we like for any of our loan products, we tell people, like, do not take out a loan collateralizing like all of your Bitcoin. You do it with a fraction of it, and then that'll give you ample chance to like top up your collateral as needed.
Yeah, and honestly, the product makes total sense, not just for the logistic, parts of it, where, like, this person doesn't have a job or they don't have the income and they don't want to realize those gains and all that kind of stuff, but just the type of people who have done so well in Bitcoin and want to focus in that space, and just like the amount of people who are out there who are just looking to do something else and get, maybe into like a hard asset and be able to have that sort of that option. It seems like this is a product that is going to take off. I hope that you guys are the ones to pioneer it, but I feel like that's definitely going to be something that takes off, especially if you don't have to sell your Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and we expected a positive reception, but it was like, we have a very, very large waiting list at this time. Like, we were kind of thrilled at how many people actually were really interested in using it. And it's great as well. Like, we have enough interest. We get to start with like just Toronto, our home base. And like, both of our co-founders have experience in the real estate market as well. So we're able to tap, connections and resources we have here, which is great for us, because that way we're able to roll out the product in an environment that we're really familiar with first, and then we'll gradually be expanding to Ontario and Canada. Yeah, exactly.
You trust the Toronto market, right? And your lenders, obviously are wanting to make sure that they're putting their money in the right place.
Exactly. And then like, it's also, Canada has like quite a stable regulatory environment as well, which is like, really important thing, especially when you're rolling out a financial product that is, quite cutting edge. Like, no one has produced this type of product before. So it is helpful for us to be based where we are. Yeah.
So can we just walk through what this looks like? So I want to buy a house in Toronto for the average price of $1.8 million. And I bought Bitcoin 10 years ago, right? For $90 or whatever it was. And I have a shit ton of Bitcoin, and I have no money, and I want to buy a house. So what does this look like?
Okay. So you come to us and you say, okay, hey, Ledn, I'm interested in Bitcoin mortgage. What do we do? So once, basically we would have a couple calls just to make sure that this is the right product for you. Because again, if we could help you get a regular mortgage, we will help you do that instead. So let's say you do have income and your credit score is worthy. What we would say is like, okay, well, just collateralize with us enough Bitcoin that we'll just give you a regular loan for your down payment, and then you get a regular mortgage that way. If that's not an option because you have no income, and you said it was 1.8 million, is that right? So
just an average home here.
Okay, sure. Well, let's call it 2 million just to make it a nice round number. So you would come and you would collateralize with us $2 million worth of Bitcoin. I guess first we would actually go and do an appraisal on the home. We would go and make sure the home is worth what it's supposed to be worth. Then you would collateralize $2 million worth of Bitcoin with us, and we would issue a $2 million loan with which the home could be purchased, and then we would the home itself would be part of the Bitcoin collateral.
At the current Bitcoin exchange rate with the dollar?
Yeah, that's right. So we have these we have various APIs set up with different pricing sources, and to like take an average of what the price is for different places, that in case one place goes out of whack, it doesn't go too off track. But like we already have a lot of systems in place built to keep a very, very close track of what the kind of trading market value of Bitcoin is. So that's all already been built as part of our regular Bitcoin backed loans product. So yeah, it would be based on what the Bitcoin price is worth according to various high liquidity exchanges. Yeah.
And so hold on. So what happens with my Bitcoin?
So your Bitcoin,
where does it go?
I only one question. So the Bitcoin comes with us, and what we do is part of it is held in reserve, and part of it we lend out through our trading partner, Genesis Capital. So Genesis Capital is the largest cryptocurrency lending desk. They facilitate kind of loans and cryptocurrency between a lot of different entities in the space. We've been working with them for several years. And so for all of our products, when you deposit Bitcoin or USDC with us, we lend it out. We'll lend out most of our Bitcoin through Genesis, and it generates a bit of yield. And then that goes towards reducing the cost of capital on your mortgage loan.
And so, like 2 million Bitcoin for $2 million of currency, basically the loan. Like that's pretty reasonable. Like that's I expected it to be a much higher collateral stake to be able to get into that type of space.
Our regular I'll get to both of those. So first, our regular Bitcoin backed loans are 50% loan to value. You deposit Bitcoin and we'll issue you a loan at 50% of the value. But the reason we're able to do 100% loan to value on the initial Bitcoin is because the real estate becomes part of the collateral. So of the total collateral for the loan, it's around 50%. Yeah. You asked about the interest rate. I can't confirm interest rates quite yet, but I could say they are going to be. They're going to be lower than what you would get if you were they're going to be a higher interest rate than if you were to get a mortgage from the Big Five, right? But they will be highly competitive with if you're going to private to a private mortgage mortgage provider.
For sure. I wouldn't be charging less than the private guys. I'd be competing with them because that's what this is. That's what
so at the moment, it's like 8.9% on our regular Bitcoin backed loans, plus a 2% admin fee. So you're looking at about 10 or 11% total. Those are for regular Bitcoin backed loans. And then for a regular mortgage, you would be getting 1 to 3%, something like that, right? Mm-hmm. So for a Bitcoin mortgage, you're looking at somewhere in between those two, because essentially it's a blend of those two products. Yeah.
It sounds like you guys are doing regular mortgages, so you're governed or registered with Fisco. Like you guys are doing everything through a mortgage company as well. Financial Services Council Ontario, that's somebody who looks at all your stuff, or is it somebody else?
I actually don't know off the top of my head. I do know that we so far most of our I'm not the regulatory guy on this, but we have been there was a considerable amount of prep that our legal and compliance team has been doing with the relevant authorities, and this is one thing that we've been kind of from day one have had to keep kind of 2 steps ahead of making sure we're on top of all the regulatory things.
If you're taking them to mortgages, like regular mortgages, then that's what it is, right? If you're offering them that as well.
Full compliance is number one for our business, because it happens all the time in the cryptocurrency world. People just because suddenly you can mint these tokens and out of nowhere, tons of people have gone and run ahead and started doing things in shitty circumstances, and a lot of services get shut down in short amounts of time. And we that's the last thing we want. We've never actually heading sort of issue like that. And so we are quite careful whenever we launch in a jurisdiction. The last thing we want is to offer a product that we then have to stop offering someone. Yeah.
It's funny because Darryl and I, we want to talk about the real estate market too, because this all ties in. And Darryl and I were speaking before the show, before you jumped on here, and we were just talking about how people need to pull all these strings to be able to get a property in Toronto. Like they might start off with a certain budget, but then they still got to start calling family members or having people co-sign. And now this is just one other layer. Like maybe I got to put up my Bitcoin, right? Like maybe I need to, go to, an alternative lender and put up my Bitcoin in order to be able to get into this market. So they may qualify for 1.6, but they want to buy for 2 million now. So now it's like, all right, I got to do what I got to do to be able to make this work. And this is just one more avenue.
One of the benefits of doing it this way is that, like, if you use a Bitcoin mortgage through us, like, we're able to issue you a full, full loan. So, on the property, the things you're able to buy the property outright, and then just it becomes collateralized.
Yeah, one mortgage. Yeah. You'll have one first mortgage, and that'll be it.
Yeah,
which is ideal.
And just because I'm always skeptical of everything,
of course,
I'm giving you my Bitcoin, and how am I certain you're giving it back to me?
Yeah.
Bitcoin's not the same as other things that you could secure, right? Like once you have it, I don't know if I'm ever going to get it back.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, like a lot of that has to do with our reputation and our kind of track record. Like we have, yeah, I know, right? So you could look up. We're a very well capitalized business. Like our, investors are pretty significant names in the space. Like they're people who aren't like, let me put it this way, like many of our investors, their reputations are worth more than they would gain from like us being able to just disappear with anyone's money. We also take a lot of steps to be like highly transparent and accountable with what we are doing with our money. For example, there's something we do called proof of reserves, where twice a year we get a third-party accounting firm, and we provide them an anonymized version of all of our books, so that they can basically attest that our funds are where they say they are. And so, yeah, the firm we work with is called Armanino LLP, and this is called proof of reserves. And like twice a year, if you are a client with Ledn, what you can do is you'll get a unique kind of ID. And then you can go to the Armanino website and you can put in the ID, and they don't know who you are, but they know that there is an account at Ledn that has a certain balance, and they can confirm that all the liabilities and the deposits and everything adds up. So that's one thing we do to kind of just offer higher transparency that our business is operating, as we say it is. Yeah.
Now, what I would say, Darryl, and this is again just me being like
Mr. Nice Guy.
No, me being like
TK?
Cynical, I guess, a little bit, right? So, hey, I'll give you my Bitcoin. I'm going to now own this property. You're going to have the first mortgage on it. So yeah, you've got title so that you've got the property secured.
My Bitcoin and my title.
Right. But part of my agreement with you is if your company goes bankrupt and my Bitcoin disappears, that first mortgage disappears and I own the property that I paid for initially too. That's how I would want it to have.
Is that how it is?
Hold on it, right?
No, you got to pay off your loan in order to get it.
Well, what happened? Let's just talk about this openly here. And this is not targeting you here at all, Mario. It's just if somebody lends me money, and then they, a corporation, and then they go bankrupt and they don't have any creditors and everything else like that, like that loan that I owe them would go into like receivership and all that kind of stuff. And there would be people coming after me later on after it. So I'd want to have some protection, but definitely not a huge concern if your company's got the reputation and everything else too. It would be the same thing as going to John Smith, the private lender who's willing to give me some money, right? There is no guarantee that his estate or whatever, if he passes away, is going to let me off the hook, right? So just little things like that. Either way, I don't want to go down that road. The best part about this program is that people don't need to sell their Bitcoin, because if you're bullish on Bitcoin, this is the product to go with.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, and like to be clear, to just like set us aside from Joe the private lender, like we did raise $70 million in a Series B round like a couple of months ago.
How much? How much?
70 million.
70
million.
Yeah,
wow.
so we're currently we're valued at slightly higher than $500 million at the moment, and so we're quite well capitalized, and our like existing products are like quite robust. So this is not like we're not like a brand new shop that has opened up and is trying to operate this. Like we have a considerable amount of experience in the riskier parts of this type of product already. So yeah, this is there are quite a few backstops in place here. Yeah.
So what do you think about the, I don't know if you read in the news this week, the first metaverse mortgage in Decentraland? Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I saw a couple of headlines. I didn't rush out to take one out myself, but you know, I'll let the product develop a bit before I check it out. Yeah, metaverse mortgage. It's yeah, the world is becoming a bit more cyberpunk over time, isn't it?
I took out a 45,000 metaverse mortgage in Decentraland because real ones are too expensive.
I mean, 45,000 is a very reasonable price for real estate or unreal estate, I guess. Oh, Jesus.
That I don't get it. Explain that to me. It's like they owned a piece of property.
Somebody wanted to buy
and they mortgaged it.
Yeah, somebody lent them, I don't know, 75% LTV on their purchase of Decentraland, gave them a mortgage.
Be able to buy into Decentraland.
Same kind of thing. They hold the NFT, margin. They give you a loan, and hope that they made a good bet.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. I want to open up a second mortgage company for the metaverse. We give people seconds.
This could be a second iteration of the Ledn Bitcoin-backed mortgage.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that crazy though? Would you lend anybody something to buy a piece of Decentraland? Is there a product in the works?
We haven't had a lot of demand for it yet, as far as we know. But I'll pass this one on to the team if we can discuss.
What's the most expensive property someone's bought with your guys' help, or a property piece of real estate that you've been involved with in one way or another?
Oh, so yeah, like I said, the product is just rolling out right now. So we're just currently implementing the first mortgages. This is brand new. I don't know actually what the most expensive one is, but like we have seen, we are in talks with people above 8 figures.
So yes. Okay. So somebody comes to you and says like, you know, when people bought in 2020, it's like, man, you're smart. People bought in 2015, you're like, oh, you're a genius. If they're like, I got into Bitcoin in 2011, they're like a god, right?
They're not telling you though. Like the people who have like large stacks of Bitcoin and have kept them over the years, they know to keep a low profile. It's generally safer for them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So when they come to you and they're like, I want to buy this $20 million bridal path estate, you're like, are you guys going to set a limit and be like, look, we got to pick and choose who we can service this to, right? I mean, that's a big estate, but I guess the Bitcoin world, that's what it's going to bring. It's going to bring some pretty heavy hitters.
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, having too much interest is a good problem to have from our perspective. You know, so like right now, I'm not aware of any scenario where someone's come to us and been like, you know, I want to buy this like $100 billion home. We're like, nah, sorry, we can't handle that level of liquidity right now. That, to my knowledge, that hasn't happened yet. And again, at the moment, we're more constrained by kind of geography. Again, we're just saying, all right, who's available in like, who wants to do this in Toronto? Let's service like everyone who wants to do it in Toronto, and then we'll expand to Ontario. But the thing is, like, if the demand is there, that's something that we'll be able to grow into. You know, if the demand is there, we are structuring these products to be profitable and sustainable so that we can provide them. So, you know, even if someone comes to us and like, we're not in a position to offer them now, whether it's due to geographical reasons or something to do with the property itself, like, you know, over time, we expect to be able to service. I haven't heard of us having any problems of just like property being too big for us to handle. Like I said, we are quite well capitalized at the moment, so I don't anticipate.
I can see somebody just wanting to be Drake's neighbor, and they're just going to be like, "Fuck it, I want a loan. I want to live on the bridal path."
I mean,
anywhere.
If Drake comes to us and wants to take out a mortgage, we could probably make that happen.
Yeah, I bet that'd be worth the publicity. I'd say
Drake listens to the show, so Drake, if you need a mortgage.
Yeah,
Mario, Drake,
or if you have real estate and you're looking into the Bitcoin world, you know, you can use this for the opposite direction as well. Yeah.
See, that's freaking cool too. So hold on a sec. Are you guys an exchange?
So we're not really an exchange in that like you can't directly buy Bitcoin through us or retail, because we at the moment we don't. You can't like send dollars to us, for example. We're a service for people who already have Bitcoin or USDC.
But you can accept my Bitcoin and give it to somebody else. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
But
well, because
just through a wallet, right?
generally in the industry, what we talk about is an exchange is a place where you can like, deposit your Canadian dollars and then buy and sell a variety of other cryptocurrencies. Whereas for us, we're for people who already have Bitcoin or USDC. So you can swap between Bitcoin and USDC on a platform. Do you know what USDC is? Like the stable coin?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure.
Why not Tether?
Right, it's Tether's something we're open to adding in the future, but at the moment, the Ontario Security Exchange Commission is not Tether friendly, but we're hopeful that'll change in the near future. Yeah. USDC is like it seems to be gaining ground against Tether actually. It'll be interesting to see in the future how the kind of stablecoin market, if it's like very, very well distributed, or if it's or it tends to be concentrated just in one or two. Yeah.
So I would transfer my Bitcoin into your company's wallet. Is that how it would just work?
Yeah, so you would create an account through Ledn, and generally when you deposit Bitcoin to us, when you create an account, you'll automatically have a BTC Savings is the name of our product, which is essentially a savings account where you deposit your Bitcoin and we'll immediately start paying you interest on it, just like regular savings account in a bank. So that's generally kind of like your home base. You can almost think of it as like it's like comparable to a checking account, and then from there it's quite easy to move into collateral for the different types of loans we have. If some people aren't interested in using those and only want to use the loans, in which case we can determine the agreements of the loan in advance and then just directly accept the Bitcoin that you send as collateral. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, we're experiencing a huge growth in Toronto. Like there's just so much price demand, sales. Like we've got a huge increase in sales. Last year was the highest level of sales we've ever experienced with the Toronto Real Estate Board on the MLS system, 121,000 sales. We got more people interested in real estate than ever before. And it doesn't look like it's going anyway. We talk about immigration, right? Immigration, 400,000 people, 2021. They're trying to target another 400,000 people today. 411. Yeah. Like this year, sorry. Like
that makes a difference though. 11,000, like we need to put them in a house.
We got to find those people somewhere, right? Yeah. So like there's just more options.
You can help. No, but you know what? This is potentially helpful for affordability only from the perspective of people that, there's a lot of people that have money from cryptocurrencies. They just, there's no way to use them in the real world, or at least for these kind of assets, right? But there's a lot of people that must be sitting there with a ton of Bitcoin that are like just want to buy real estate now. They want to hedge their Bitcoin, or they want to. I mean, the way you're doing it, you're stretching it, right? You're leveraging it. It's even better.
Do they have to be Canadian citizens, Mario?
So right now we're offering. Right now it's mainly just run by where the property is. Like we offer our services in like 127 different countries. I think we have active clients at the moment. Okay. With the mortgage product, it's more constrained by where the residence is. So right now we're offering it for homes in Toronto, only residential real estate, not commercial. And then I don't know if we've run into the issue. I think pretty much everybody that I know of so far, they also happen to be Canadians. But we'll have to look at that on a case by case basis. If someone is from New York, for example, we can't provide services for them at the moment. They have very, very stringent laws in terms of cryptocurrency services. But if you're Canadian wanting to buy Canadian property, then we should be able to do that within the next quarter or two. And if you're in Toronto,
Florida, Florida, everything goes in Florida.
There's a lot of interest in Florida. Like Miami is becoming quite the Bitcoin cryptocurrency hub. So that's one of the U.S. states where we've had a lot of interest. Florida, Tennessee, Texas, yeah, absolutely. Those places are there's a lot of demand there. I definitely feel you guys in terms of like what's happening in the market here. I moved to Toronto in August. I was living in Victoria before, where things aren't like terribly cheap, but I was like I was kind of doing the nomad lifestyle and like slumming it and living in like student housing. And then I moved here and like wanted to get like a place downtown, and definitely renting, but I was kind of lucky I got in just before the kind of a lot of the renters, I guess, left during the pandemic, and then they've started coming back. So I was
It picked up August last year. Yeah.
Yeah, so I moved in my place September 1st. So I kind of just beat the rush there. But my parents have been very like encouraging. Oh, it's like time for you to buy some real estate. It's hard knowing when to jump in, especially coming from the Bitcoin world. I'm like, do I want to sell? But I guess maybe I won't have to.
Harder to buy the dip. Much harder to buy the dip in Toronto real estate.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with Bitcoin. You can quickly just like purchase a bit if you're set up. Whereas I've never purchased a home, but from what I understand, it's a bit more of an involved process. Yeah.
I was just told that Toronto hit #1 for average prices in Canada compared to Vancouver. I read it online
just now. Oh,
like this week. Yeah, I just Googled it right now, though it didn't come up, so I don't really know. People tell me stuff on the internet all the time, and I'm pretty gullible. So, but either way, it does feel like Toronto is the most expensive place on the planet. Like, there's just no other way that, like, it's just hard to understand. Like, how could somewhere be more expensive? But yet, there is lots of places more expensive than Toronto.
Like, right? Way more expensive.
Yeah, yeah, big time.
Like double.
But even compared to like in Canada itself, even to understand, like even to picture, because I'm not from here, like I'm sure you get this vibe from people in Toronto where we think that Toronto is the center of Canada and like there is no really other important places.
People in Toronto love Toronto.
Yeah, you know how you tell
people in the West Coast are the same though. It's like when I told people I was moving from Victoria to Toronto, like half of what I told them were like, why? I'm like, but I mean, I like big cities. I like being here. This is been trying to make it for a while.
You can tell someone's from Toronto because they'll pretty much let you know within the first 5 minutes of talking to them, right?
Yeah.
But to me, to think that Vancouver could be as expensive as Toronto, to me is like, no way, like that's crazy.
I thought in my mind it's like Vancouver's more expensive than Toronto than Victoria, but I guess it shifts over time. It's
Vancouver is it always has been, but Toronto, I read this week, but you know what, the internet gets me every time.
So I had a question for you guys. Are you familiar with the YIMBY movement? The kind of the
YIMBY?
YIMBY, yeah, yes, in my backyard.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, makes sense.
Is that a real thing?
It's a growing thing. Yeah, it's like a counter to the NIMBY movement or to NIMBYism, right? There's an interesting writer called Noah Smith that writes a decent amount about this on his Substack, and he used to write for Bloomberg as well. And like kind of the general idea of the movement is just like basically the problems can all be solved by easing regulation and just like building way more housing. And there's this people talk about this kind of coordination problem of once someone owns a home, they become somewhat incentivized to actually kind of restrict the construction of new housing because then it drives up the property of their own value. I'm curious if you guys, I guess
right people.
You've heard of it, yeah. So what do you guys think of this?
Go ahead, Darryl. You can give your slanted, one-sided opinion.
I will give you my.
You could give the objective one next.
I give a very objective.
There is no objectivity from this side of the monitor. That I can guarantee you. It is all selfish perspective. Listen, I don't think YIMBYs really exist. They might be a small group of people that are vocal.
I identify as a YIMBY.
Hey, you can't deny that. All right.
Is that a pronoun now? Is that a pronoun? He YIMBY?
Yim/B.
Yim/B.
Nice.
So in my opinion, there's not enough YIMBYism out there to make a difference at all. They're loud, the YIMBYs. They're really loud, but they have to be louder than the NIMBYs. And the NIMBYs have been organizing for a long time, and they have got this thing down to a science. And believe me,
this is a disappointingly objective response.
It's disappointing. I mean, listen.
Okay, but you support the YIMBY movement. Would it be something you'd be a fan of?
Listen, like, I'm a real estate developer. I need YIMBYism. The YIMBYism helps me a great deal. NIMBYism hurts me a great deal. There's nothing wrong with people wanting a good product that doesn't hurt the rest of the neighborhood. But that's not what NIMBYism is about, right? So there's conflicting messages. It's like anything else. It's very convoluted, but the idea seems to be prominent out there that we need more housing or less people. And we don't seem to be curtailing the people, which means there's only one other option. But NIMBYs are so powerful. So just to give you a quick example, every single new development needs to have a community meeting, which is the community coming out and telling you what they think. We had about 65 people in our Zoom meeting that came out to be part of this community meeting. There was one YIMBY and everyone else was a NIMBY. Right? So I mean, 65-1 odds, you know, some people will take them, but they're not favorable and they're not fun. And when you mix that with politics and politicians, it makes it very hard to accomplish the goal. Now, I'm wondering lately, what is the goal? Right? Like, our goals as a society don't seem to be the same as the people that are running the society for us. So YIMBYism is a wonderful movement. NIMBYism was probably a wonderful movement at one point, but they get lost. They get lost.
There's a generational issue with the people who are the city councilors and, you know, in the province and all that kind of stuff too, because this hasn't always been this way. Like, we've had many cycles in real estate, and the people who are in power now grew up as a kid where NIMBYism was, you know, yeah, you don't want an apartment building in your backyard, and you don't want to have all this high density because it brings lower income people and, you know, traffic and noise and shadows and all sorts of stuff. But the people now who are in their 20s and 30s who are all like, we've got a serious issue here, as they become growing into power, then they will, it's the NIMBYs are actually the government. It's the community meeting people aren't the NIMBYs. The NIMBYs are the people in the government, because their constituents are the ones that they're trying to protect. Because in their mind, I'm trying to get my vote. And
yeah, exactly.
It's the newer, younger generations who will come up and they won't listen to those people anymore, because they'll say, no, my job is to lead so that I could create more housing, which does help the market per se, in theory, control pricing. And that's what the issue is. And so what we talk about along the show is the government's always focused on, let's get the developers to build it cheaper. Let's get the developers to make it affordable. Let's get the developers to create opportunities so that everyone's going to go have a place to live in a really cheap way. But as soon as the developers ask for more, oh, no, you can't have it. Like, you're not allowed to, right? And that becomes the issue. That becomes the roadblock, because there's a disconnect there. You can't have your cake and eat it too. So that's where I think the YIMBYs will start to rise, is once that generation starts to take power in politics, which is, you know, we're heading into that decade maybe right now.
And I think what has to happen and what will happen is it won't be YIMBY movement, because the people that will lead this new movement, they won't have a backyard yet. And that's why they're going to lead this thing. They're going to be pissed. Like, I imagine you're younger than I am and you're in tech. So like, I'm interested to know somebody like yours and your generation's perspective on housing right now, because I mean, you could make a ton of money online and rent and live anywhere and live in an island and then move to another island. And maybe your generation isn't going to care about home ownership that much in 10 years from now, because they will have been just so beaten down and given up, or two, it became a less viable option for a really good way of life, right? So like somebody like you who's in tech and younger and looking to get in, like, how hard are you actually trying to get into the market? Are you okay where you are?
I'm okay. I'm okay renting for a bit, but I mean, I also don't want to speak for everyone my age, because I'm very fortunate to have a stable job in tech, and I recognize that the people I identify as a YIMBY, but it's not really for myself. It's like for people I know who, have jobs that might make it tougher to, pay rent or get higher income. So I don't use myself as a template here. But that being said, so I'm quite comfortable renting for a while and putting my kind of savings in other assets. But I could definitely see why, I definitely do know other people who've been very, very frustrated by, by the lack of affordability of housing. Yeah.
Did you buy the recent dip?
I don't own any real estate.
No, the Bitcoin.
I mean, I'm always gradually buying a little of Bitcoin.
I kept telling myself, I'm like, I've lost so much money in the last few months. Like, I gotta buy more. I gotta buy more. And then
what I tell my friends and family is don't buy it if you can't hold it for at least 4 or 5 years, because 4 or 5 years is enough to weather out any of the ups and downs. And That's generally what I say. Like people, yeah, I tell people don't expect short-term gains buying dips and stuff, because it can
I
always
never
dip
plan on
further.
selling crypto.
Oh, there you go. I
It
don't
just
know. I don't know what
I
you're
don't invest
complaining
that
about.
much in
You're
it. So
good.
I got
You're
exactly. I
good.
don't.
So yeah,
I just
it's
plan on like it can go to
just be
zero. I'm
patient.
okay. I'll pass it on to my grandchildren. I'm okay with that too.
Yeah.
Neither scenario
Yeah.
for me is not okay.
Although if you keep talking to Mike in space, he'll get you to just go all in on NFTs, and then that's no good. It's
I deal with people who
actually
come to me. I'm a real estate agent, right? So I deal with people who come
okay.
to me and they say, "Look, I'm ready to sell because I'm going to go invest in crypto stocks." Mainly Tesla seems to be the one that people bring up the most. But that's what people do. Like they are
Still these days, because Tesla. Well, I mean,
yes.
like I'm a big fan of Elon Musk and like Tesla, and I love what like what they're doing, and I owned some Tesla like back in the day before I found Bitcoin. But yeah, okay, that's cool. That's
People are
we're still
still
going
like,
for it.
you got an
Yeah.
idea, you got a tip.
Let's hope they didn't buy too much Facebook a month ago.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's
So
okay.
that's all part of, the investor's journey is what do you think is going to happen? And to me, real estate's the one that I'm most comfortable with. But everything else, I'd like to at least just be part of the ride so I can say I was there. I'm a bandwagon jumper. When the Leafs win the cup
So
in like 20,
did you get in on GME then? Is that
No, I
no?
was too
You
too
never
shaky on
followed
that
the
one. I was
Shib,
too shaky.
Shib.
You're not a redditor, are you?
No.
No,
But
that's
Shib.
I joined the Shib army at the
oh no,
exact
oh
worst
god.
time ever.
Well,
I
No
traded it
altcoins
for
have done
Bitcoin. I
anything
traded it
but
for
well,
lose money
Bitcoin.
for me.
you bought a dog coin, so I don't know what else
Yeah.
to tell you.
I've done all those.
I wanted to pay for my upcoming renovations, so I bought Shib, and it went the wrong way.
I would love to
see.
I would love to see an expectation versus reality of the renovations you were doing after that. That would have been great.
They got better, but it was
Oh yeah.
it wasn't because of the ship.
No,
It wasn't because of
the
the ship.
No.
What was the renovation, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, we did. We had some floor work done, smoothed out some ceilings, electrical, nothing crazy, new stairs, but very costly. Everything,
especially
very
Shib.
costly. But the Shib, man, literally
contractors.
The worst day ever I could have bought it.
Contractors and businesses taking Bitcoin will be the ultimate.
Yes.
That's the goal of I think decentralized currency advocates, right? Is that one day that will be the chosen currency to barter business to business and everything else too, I imagine, right?
Yeah, I mean, like
it's happening.
It's meant to be money. Like already in El Salvador, Bitcoin has been made legal
tender. Yeah.
So yeah, I was fortunate enough to travel down there in November, and it's pretty cool. Like you go into like like some of the mom and pop shops, like they don't make them take Bitcoin, but like any like established business, like any of the chains, if you go into McDonald's there, you said I'd like to pay with Bitcoin, they are set up, and you can,
on the Lightning network.
Yep, with Lightning. Yeah,
crazy.
It's I mean, it's a really interesting time because I think it's like it's a bit early for that kind of thing, but I'm glad some places trying it. I think it's early already, just because again, Bitcoin price volatility is still pretty high, so you don't necessarily want to pay for your groceries in an asset that might be 20% higher or lower at the end of the month. So I think over time, as the Bitcoin market grows and becomes a bit more stable, I think
here's
it'll become more viable.
Here's a good question, because you said right now Bitcoin is high volatility. So as an advocate for cryptocurrencies, is it in your guys' benefit to have less volatility in the crypto markets, right? Because you guys are investors. Sure. Do you want the prices just to stay where they are today and barely move, maybe rise with inflation and stuff like that?
Okay. So there are different types of volatility, right? There's kind of like you measure volatility on like a day-to-day basis, on a week-to-week basis, a month-to-month basis, year-to-year basis. Of course, like as someone who holds Bitcoin, I'm thrilled if in the next 2 decades, Bitcoin has huge volatility and like goes up another 100x. That would be wonderful for me. What I was talking about there was more shorter-term volatility, like month to month. Because the higher volatility with a lot of these peaks and dips, it does make it harder for it to be used as everyday currency. And one of the kind of goals is that this can really be a lifeline to people who are in areas that don't have access to a stable currency. They might be from places like Venezuela or Zimbabwe and like Argentina, where there's like really high inflation. And already Bitcoin's useful for those people because, you know, it's like an alternative system that like anyone can use. But the lower the kind of short-term volatility becomes for Bitcoin, the more viable it becomes to be used as an everyday currency. You know, we have yet to see like, you know, the degree to which that's going to come down, because again, it's an entirely new asset. There's never been like any sort of asset or money before that was like actually supply capped. It's never happened in human history. So we're gonna have to see how that plays out. So that's why I'm really interested in the question of reduced volatility in the long term. I think it's going to be some time before it's broadly useful like that. But it's
I don't know if you can have both though.
No, but
I think you can have the stable month to months with, and then also have this 100x growth.
No, once you have enough, no, you can't.
But I don't think you could. We can't have 10x growth every few years forever. That can't happen forever, of course. Like, you know, that's got to peter out eventually. What I see that is, I see that as a manifestation of Bitcoin growing to, the percentage of the economy where it belongs, right? And once it gets there, I think it would be ridiculous for anyone to expect the last 10 years of Bitcoin's price action to continue happening. Of course. Not even the most like avid Bitcoin like proponents think that's going to happen. But it's just a question of like how much growing is there to do. And as it grows, the growth slows down. Hopefully, also the shorter term volatility also slows down, so it can be more broadly useful for people. There is a trade off there. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
I think as it's more broadly used, the volatility doesn't even matter against USD and CAD or any other currencies, because there'll be enough people just using Bitcoin that like prices will start being set in Bitcoin and people will start getting used to paying in Bitcoin. They won't care what the exchange rate is. They'll be getting paid in it.
It's true. But like right now, so you're right that it doesn't matter what the price volatility as measured against another currency is if we have a circular economy. That's absolutely correct. But the reason that we kind of measure volatility that way is because the US dollar is on a shorter term basis more stable. I mean, like it's kind of funny saying that now while we're hitting like, record high inflation rates. But again, the inflation of US dollar, we're like, oh my God, 7%, like that's really high. But again, compared to Bitcoin, that's actually very low. So it is somewhat of a proxy. Like the real question is, what's its volatility in terms of purchasing power over time? And there is this is a question, in my opinion, it's an open question that like once there is a circular economy, I think there is reason to suspect that would stabilize the real world kind of the purchasing power volatility. But I have seen some arguments against that. And I'm not sure. It's like a fascinating question. And I think we're going to learn a lot in the next 10 years, 10 to 20 years. But I'm pretty optimistic that there's Bitcoin will continue to become more and more useful. Just to tie in a nice shill for the company, I think like us being able to offer these types of services is a big sign.
Give us the plug.
10 years ago, we could not have offered Bitcoin backed loans. It was just too volatile. The market was too small. Whereas now it's come down enough that we can offer, the loans that we do for people who are, again, locked out of the system. And again, the interest rates, they're hanging around 10%, which might not be appealing to someone who has access to a line of credit in Canada. But, perhaps you're locked out for another reason. Perhaps you live in Mexico or, Colombia. Like we have a lot of clients in Latin America for which this is the only source of their this is their only source of credit. And so, and as the industry becomes more kind of established and built out, we are hopeful that we'll be able to reduce interest rates as well, because that, it allows us to, provide more stable pipelines for financing. And
how do people reach you? How do people reach you? How do they find you?
So over at time. That's right. Yeah. So you can check out us at ledn.io, ledn.io. If you want to hear more my ramblings, I'm on Twitter. I'm pretty active on there, Mario_Gibney. And I also do a podcast with a few friends of mine called the Unhashed podcast. If you wanna hear some lowbrow humor and Bitcoin analysis. Mike in Space is a listener of our show. That's our connection there. So that's why he connected us over. Well, but thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. If there are people still watching, which, our YouTube stats tells us that's a very low percentage, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Comment below, and we'll see you guys next time.